Hello and welcome to the Proclamation Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nolan. You'll notice in our first few episodes that we called ourselves Foursquare Sessions. That's okay. We still are part of Foursquare Sessions, but one of our lovely team members came up with the name Proclamation Podcast, and we couldn't pass it up. So follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and all those other platforms that we forget about, and enjoy these episodes of the Proclamation Podcast. Cheers. All right, hello and welcome to the Foursquare Sessions podcast. I'm here with, for the first time ever, two guests, and I'm really excited to have these guys on. I think my motivation for having you guys on the podcast was that every time I run into you, whether it's out and about or here at Foursquare, I always end up talking to you guys way longer than I would have bet that I would be talking to you guys.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And I think that really is the heart of this podcast, is just taking those conversations that happen in passing and putting them down in a way where our children, our grandchildren, and the rest of the world can share in the types of conversations and interactions that we get to have. And so it's a pleasure to have you guys and to be able to just sit around this table and be able to share our conversation with the world. And I know that we've had so many gold conversations before.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm hoping that this will be another one of those. And I'm just excited to hear your guys' story and just your heart behind the next chapter that you're moving into. And
Totally.
And maybe that can encourage some people who are listening today who are wondering, like, how do I take a leap to the next thing that I want to do and not be fearful?
Yeah.
And listening to the story of what you guys are doing, I think could encourage people to do that. So thanks for being here.
Cool. Or scare them completely.
Scare them completely. So Jordan,
yeah,
why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us about yourself?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
I am Jordan. I'm 30 years old, even though I don't look like I'm 30. But usually he makes that joke, so I'll let him do that eventually.
Took his first bit of material.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try to take all the material from him so that he has nothing else left. I lived in this the Placer County, Sacramento County area pretty much my entire life. And as we're going to talk about, I'm sure in a little bit, that's about to change pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because we do have, this is our spot every day. We start our day with coming to Foursquare talking. And it's funny that we started outside. And then you brought us inside to have pretty much the same conversations we have all the time outside.
That is kind of funny.
So it's
From
cool.
the outside in.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a
nice metaphor.
Yeah.
When you were gone, we were talking about how we made it to the inner sanctum.
Yeah. The blacked out windows.
There's one more level.
Underground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
No,
that's
I'm so stoked that you guys are on the inside.
yeah.
Spencer, how about
It's
you?
fun.
My name is Spencer. I also grew up in the Sacramento, I don't think I would say Placer County area, probably more Sacramento.
Yeah. You're not cool enough for that.
Born and raised?
Not cool enough. Born and raised. Right by the Madison Avenue exit.
Oh, yeah.
So a street that I lived off of, you could take it all the way to the freeway. There's a big giant wall that separated the freeway, and the other side was Scandia. So if you know that area.
Totally.
So I grew up over there, and I've known him basically kind of like my whole life, just old church.
Pretty much.
Guys met at church?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Parents,
Probably in,
friends, and all that.
Childcare, being taught like Jonah and the whale together or something like that.
What's that story?
I think it's a band.
This guy,
if people don't know,
this guy bets a lot of money and he loses it all, and this fish just takes it. What a selfish fish.
It's a nautical story, but yeah, and yeah, we I don't know. I guess we got a lot to talk about, but that'd be a good introduction.
Yeah. What connected you guys outside of church?
Well, there was definitely a hiatus, like a few years.
For sure.
Because his family, it was a church we both grew up in, and his family left the church. I don't know what.
I was 7.
Yeah.
So we went to a different church.
Yes. And
Devastating.
Devastating.
For a 7-year-old.
Still hurts.
My heart was distraught. So yeah, years later, I guess we finally we connected through like school because we went to this Montessori school, which I mean we've got a lot of great stories from that. Montessori schools are the best.
Yay.
Yeah, totally. So connected through that. So I guess like school, and then like acquaintances, other friends, and eventually later on in life. Well, you should tell that story. Like later on in life, kind of how we reconnected
Yeah.
and what made us like close friends.
Yeah.
What got the band back together?
Because we weren't that close until like remember like the job thing and like
yeah, which job thing?
well, I was working at a job. Well, no, I was working at Dimple, right? Was I working at Dimple?
Yeah.
And I only worked there for like
You've had a lot of jobs.
I've had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll like start a job and then be like an hour into it, be like, "Oh, this isn't what I thought it was."
I like testing the water.
Yeah.
And I don't mind like the thing if you buy something and then you play the thing and you take it back if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of like way of life. I like that.
Totally.
I like to be hands on, try it out. If I don't like it, return it.
Yeah.
Or just try it right there in the store.
But correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you can speak more to this looking at him from the outside in, but it seems like you always leave jobs well. It's not like the double finger out the window, the door.
No.
Like, see you guys.
No, usually
I hate this place.
We could call his employers and ask if they feel the same.
We should.
let's just hear the stories from me. Actually.
Yeah.
I try.
But wouldn't you say he's always gracious?
Yes, I think so.
Or am I wrong about that? Because if I'm wrong, that could be great material too.
I don't think you've ever hit him with that on your way out, right?
No, I think there might have been one time when I never like flipped anyone off or anything like that, or like a boss. But I think one time I like left a job without putting in my 2 weeks. Just kind of like today's my last day. There's no way I can do this. But for the most part, I try to stay respectful. Just so, because I know I'm probably going to see them later in life, or our paths could cross again, and I don't know.
Yeah,
come back to bite me in the ass later.
I had a buddy who worked for the state, and
oh man,
he was making, I don't know, way more, 4 times more than he was, because he was a barista for that.
Yeah,
and he's making bank, but it was just the worst environment and so boring. And he said one day, I just can't do it anymore. And he just switched over to Microsoft Word on his computer, typed up his resignation, put it on the boss's desk, and walked out the door and never went back.
The moment?
In the moment.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Dude,
like at 11 a.m., you know?
Yeah.
Have you had him on?
No, I will, though.
Dude,
I was going to say.
Yeah, that's more interesting than my story.
If he's listening to this, he knows who he is.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like, that's me, dude.
Yeah.
That's me.
I was like, you did what?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's super. Like, just he felt it and he just left. He just did it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you said he's living on the street over here, right? Just
in a van down by the river.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Dimple Records, and I love the place.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to put away CDs and DVDs for hours upon hours. I just was like, I'm gonna lose it, and so I left within like a week. And that was the time him and I were reconnecting. It was after like a breakup that I had gone through and stuff like that. And he was moving into a place, so I was helping him build a bed frame.
Yeah, IKEA bed frame. That's right.
Yeah, and I pretty much told him
you need 2 men for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it still won't.
And emotional
support. It actually was. Well, and plus he's like the Lego architect builder as a kid.
Yeah,
I'm the kid that like.
I have an idea for you later post podcast, but
oh, sick.
Fun.
Okay.
Lego related.
Oh. I thought you were gonna have us build something here as like a
that
test.
That would be a great.
That's all the mic is picking up. It's like
that's probably not good content.
Can
for
you
a
build
podcast.
this before the podcast?
Oh, that's not stressful.
Stop asking me questions
on camera. So I was just like telling him like, started the job, left after a week. And at first it was like I think how he took it was like, oh, that's kind of shitty. Like pretty much to only stay at a job for a week, but wasn't it in my explanation to you that something connected? Right?
Yes. I mean, that's kind of a reductionist way of putting it, but essentially. So I had him and I had, again, there's a lot to our story of friendship and stuff
before that. Yeah.
I in middle school, so I did 6th grade at the Montessori school and then half of 7th. I think you showed up the 7th grade
during 7th. Yeah.
So at one point it was him and I and then our other friend Jared. which you know.
Yeah.
And so
And
it
our
was
friend Jake.
Oh yeah, and another friend. And so it was like it was definitely a solid group. I left midway, and then I don't think we really connected after that. I don't think we were like hanging out or
Not
much.
well, because our sisters were like best friends, and they're both our older sisters, and so they would connect, and we would hang out at like the Natoma's house.
Did they force?
Oh,
you
it's
guys
true.
to
There
hang
were a
out?
couple.
Yeah, they're like, you need a friend.
Yeah.
Hold
Well,
my dolls.
he also had the best.
Didn't have to ask me twice to hold their dolls.
Yeah.
You what?
Nothing.
No. Can you repeat that for the podcast, please?
Only for them.
He had the best dog ever. His name was Danny.
He was cool.
He was this like little rat terrier. And this is like one of the few things in life that I'm like sentimental
Wes, get
about
the
and connected
tissues,
to.
all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody get
Let's
tissues
not talk
ready.
about Danny.
Yeah. He was the best dog ever because he was full of energy and crazy. And he would do this thing where he would run around the house, and the way that my old house was set up, the living room was pretty open, and it was kind of like an L shape for the couch. And he would literally run full speed, and you could hear like the because it was the wood
He's
flooring.
coming.
Yeah. He's like it's like a car that's revving, like it's
But he's
burning
pretty
rubber.
slow, right? Because he's short.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah, I guess he's probably slow. He just sounds faster than he is.
Yeah.
But he would jump
working
up
hard.
and jump on the first seat, and then go to the the back, where your back is up against, and he would and fly across like the whole couch because he would just like
He
Matrix
created
kind
like
of
a
side.
NASCAR, like Daytona Beach.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
where you know how the cement is like
He
curved.
built his own Hot Wheels out of the house.
Yeah.
He would curve him like his path on the couch. He used the couch as
Because did he do it at your house too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he
would
did it. He
run,
took
like,
he
up
took
and then
those
back
habits to my
down
house.
so he could turn faster. Yeah, and he would just do that in a circle.
The world was his playground.
Yeah.
We probably didn't let him outside enough. Now that I think about
Yeah, I know. We're like, that was just him expressing his trauma.
it. Oh no.
He but best dog ever. And like he was
Danny.
hyper, but he was never annoying. Like I don't ever feel like he was like that annoying dog that wouldn't stop. And unfortunately he died. Pretty tragic way too. So we won't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But he gave me that dog because I think you moved or something and you guys couldn't really keep it anymore.
Yeah.
Or something
Oh,
like
wow.
That.
Which
So-
happened like 3 times for our family.
Oh.
We'd have a pet, and then we'd have to move, and the place wouldn't accept pets, so we'd have to give
Giving
that.
a pet away is almost worse than them dying
Yeah, that's like my life.
because there's not
Whoa.
closure.
Yeah.
We gave our first cat to my aunt. We
Mhm.
wanted a dog, but my parents wouldn't let us have a dog.
Mhm.
So they got a cat, and we named it Lassie because we wanted it to be a dog.
It's ironic.
Oh no.
And she was a beautiful cat. And when we moved from Woodland to San Jose, we gave her to my aunt. And the next time we saw them, we said, "How's Lassie?" And they said she ran away. No closure.
Oh no.
She could still be alive to this day, except that was 25 years ago. So probably not.
Goodness.
She was trying to find
Guys,
you guys.
don't ask me about Lassie.
She's still looking for you, Luke.
Yeah.
No, that's messed up.
Brutal.
So you had to
Oh.
give her away
To my aunt.
and then find out that your aunt lost
Ran
her.
away from my aunt.
How do you
Oh,
feel about
man.
your aunt?
Oh, I mean,
Is there-
it wasn't their fault.
Okay.
They had to let her outside. She was an
Yeah.
outdoor cat at our house. So
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Maybe a cat fight or something.
they said they saw her run away
Huh.
and never.
Oh.
come back.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
She like had the little stick with the
I
little.
think she went
Wrapping
looking for
the
it.
handkerchief.
Well, and that was the time
She
where
went
that
looking for
what
you?
was that movie with the
Oh.
dog and the
that's
two
so
dogs and the
sad.
cat?
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound
One of the
was like
best
literally
movies
that
ever.
era.
Yeah.
So you're like,
Oh,
obviously
no.
my cat is out there looking for
Yeah.
me.
You thought she was in like
Just
a
like
mud
in the
a mud
movie.
hole by the train tracks somewhere, just trying
Very
to climb
sad.
her way out.
That part was very sad.
That's the worst.
did the animals talk in Homeward Bound?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
They
it's
did,
Michael
okay.
J. Fox.
Was it really?
Was which
He
the
was
main dog?
he was
not
the
the old dog.
the spotted one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The energetic one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
I don't
You know,
remember
voice
that movie.
acting is a crazy business.
Oh, it's yeah.
Yeah. Mark Hamill does a lot of voice acting.
He does.
He has an insane story about Mark Hamill.
I do.
I would like to hear it.
Give the
Oh,
details.
Man. This is a fun one. Okay, well, I was on a road trip with my 2 buddies. Funny enough, on our way to San Diego, which we'll bring up later. No spoilers yet. On our way to San Diego, and we had no plans for the trip. It was just like leave this area and drive down. We didn't book any places to sleep, nothing like that. We're just like, we're gonna figure it out on our way. Which that's a whole nother story, but that was really fun.
Always fun.
Yeah, super fun. But we ended up, I think it was the second day, we ended up in Malibu. And we're driving through Malibu, and we're up in like we're trying to get as high up as we can so we can see a good view. And on our way back down, we run into this guy that's like kind of getting his mail, and we're driving by, and my friend's like, hey, why don't you ask that guy like what he has to do to be so rich, basically. I'm like, that's the stupidest question. Roll the window down. Let's do it.
This was like a dare.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know why we'd ask anybody this, but let's do it. Sure. So asking him like, hey man, like, what do you do? This is such an expensive area to live. Like, what do you do to be able to live out here? He's like, oh, I'm in banking or investments of some kind, but my neighbor is Luke Skywalker. Why he told us that, I have no idea. That's kind of like throwing.
Did he say Luke Skywalker?
He said Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, Mark Hamill is your freaking neighbor? No, I just had like
Ben Stiller lives there.
Yeah.
Plays tennis at Pepperdine. Yeah.
Yeah, he just like goes, tells me everything, and I just kind of like freaked out. I told my friends like, you have to pull the car over. Like I have to figure out what to do with this information. I have to get out of the car and go up there. So make a long story short,
go up to his door and knock on his door.
Yeah, that was my plan. And my friends were like, well, we're not coming with you, so it's all you. And I'm like, oh crap, this sucks. But I could feel it was one of those moments in life where I just had to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. So I get out of the car and walk down.
Did this guy stay engaged, or was he gone by this point?
He was gone. He grabbed his mail and left, and knew something was probably gonna happen. And walking down the driveway felt way longer than it probably actually was. And there was no front door, which was really weird. So I went through the side gate, and there was a
wow. Okay, you're
But the side gate,
you're committed.
There was a like someone doing yard work, and they were kind of coming out. So I was like, oh, I'll just like slip in the side gate because there's no front door. Maybe it's in the backyard or however this works. And there's like the Yoda fountain. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. And go to the front door, and I'm like freaking out. And I knock on the door, and I'm like trying to control my breathing. And
this clearly was the front door.
It was a door.
Yeah, it was a door.
It was a door. So
I just opened the slider out back.
Yeah.
Hello,
Luke,
it's Jordan.
Luke.
That's great. And so the maid answers the door, and I'm like, hey, is Mark here? And try to be on a first name basis. And she's like, yeah, who may I ask is speaking or is calling for him? I'm like, oh, it's Jordan. Tell him Jordan's here. And she's like, okay. So she leaves.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Yeah, she leaves and closes the door.
Sorry.
And what?
I was gonna say you should have brought your picture.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I bring the picture like I planned out telling the story from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
I happen to have the photo with me. So she comes back and she's like, yeah, come on in. He'll meet you in the living room. And so I walk in, and I'm like, once I step into the house, and I like lose all oxygen. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out at this point. It's Star Wars. It's like, how many times have we all seen these movies? And of course I was for some reason expecting my head that he'd look like Luke Skywalker, a robe or something and lightsaber on the side. And so I go in, and there's like antiques everywhere and a lot of collectibles. And I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, and just like some moments pass, and then he walks into the room with like a bathrobe on, and I'm like, I just stand up out of respect, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, hey, who are you? I'm like, oh, my name's Jordan, and I try to explain the story to him. Like, I know this is crazy. I'm sure people do this all the time or don't. I don't know, but I just really wanted to meet you, and your neighbor kind of like gave you away. So I had to knock on the door.
He probably killed his neighbor.
Probably, yeah. That guy's probably
with the lightsaber.
He's probably not in banking anymore.
With the lightsaber.
So
they're real, right?
Yeah. We talked for like 20 minutes, and about
what was his initial reaction though?
He was pleasant. He was just like he wasn't like shocked or anything. He was just curious. And then pretty much like take a seat. And I sat down, and then his dog came in the room and was petting his dog on the couch, talking to Mark Hamil. And time flew by way too fast. And after I left, I had remembered all these things I wanted to ask him, like do the Joker impression, I don't know, just things like that.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah.
Like take a photo with him,
Yeah.
which he ended up giving me a photo of him and Carrie Fisher and signing it.
Wow.
Like best of wishes to you, Jordan. Forcefully yours, Mark Hamill, sort of thing. Yeah, and I have it on
That's
my
a
wall.
Good pun.
Forcefully yours. Yeah.
Because you know.
It's like a
Yeah.
triple on.
I think that's the only
Yeah,
time.
you forced your way into a screen door. And
Yeah, and then using the force.
Right?
You guys didn't pick up on that.
Oh my gosh, the Force.
Now you
That's
get
why-
it. Huh?
What the-
That
After
makes
all
sense.
these years.
It was amazing. Yeah, I can't explain it. It was just like a moment that had to happen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
Crazy.
of time passing quickly, podcast is over. I'm kidding.
Dang it.
No. We're gonna take a short break though. And when I come back, I want to hear from you guys about the next thing you're forcing your way into.
Oh,
Cool.
Excited.
I like it.
All right,
Let's
so
tell it when we're
welcome
not
back to the
recording.
Fourscore Sessions podcast. I'm here with my guests, Jordan and Spencer, and
What's up?
we're getting into the topic of just forcefully pushing your way into something new and confronting things that bring us a little bit of dread, a little bit of anxiety, anticipation. So, Spencer, I think you said you had a story for us about maybe some sinking dread
Yeah.
that you want to share
Yeah.
with the family here.
Yeah.
That was great.
Well, you were just talking about something interesting that made me think of something that happened to me. So I used to sell cars, and I did that for 3.5 years.
Done it all.
Kind of done a lot, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. And so let's see if I can explain this concisely. So I had a guy trade in his BMW for a GTI, and then I already had that BMW. I essentially had that sold because
To somebody else.
somebody else
Was ready.
it was ready to go. So it was
Hot
like
off the
a
press.
friend
Yeah.
of my boss's daughter.
That
And-
always goes well.
Yeah. And it was like exactly the car she wanted. Like it was the color, the model, I think like even like maybe like the engine type, the wheel. It was like she was like, this is her car,
The only
right?
one left on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the one
Car
on
will never be
Earth.
made again.
Had that gold plated
It was kissed
BMW
by
logo.
Tom Cruise.
Right. Tom
Ooh.
Cruise kissed it.
So, you know,
Mark Hamill put his hands on
Mark.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was like pretty wild. So I'm not being consistent here as I yell on the mic. It was pretty wild because that's pretty rare that you have like
The
a
perfect
car deal,
setup.
and there's like aspects of getting a car traded in. You could make money on the fact that you traded in a car. So it was just like it was the cream of the crop. It was perfect.
You were gonna make
I was gonna make money.
money.
It was
yeah.
great. And I had just started. I think I was there for like 3 months at the time. So the dude mentioned something about as he's driving away in his brand new GTI, he's like, "Hey, yeah, like I chipped the car. Like you gotta like try it out, like drive it, you know." And I was like, "Oh yeah, for sure," because we're okay to like drive it and just take it to like the back of the lot.
Sure.
And he's like, "Just take it for like a little spin real quick." And sometimes we would do that just for fun, nothing crazy, but just feel out the car.
spin. Oh yeah.
And yeah, spoiler. And he mentioned something about the traction control, and you'd think I know what that was, but I didn't pay attention when I was learning. And so
He's like the American go.
yeah,
That's all you hear.
old enough, 20, 21.
Maybe not.
He said, I think he said if you engage the chip, it basically turn off the traction control is what he said. And I'm not thinking what that consequences of that is. So it did rain a little bit that night.
Oh my gosh.
And
Let's set the
I
stage.
know where this is going.
and I want to say this was probably like a 5 series or something. Like it was powerful, and he chipped it, so it was like extra powerful. And at this
So
point,
for people who don't know what that means, what does chipped it mean?
I don't know. He souped it up. People
Yeah.
know what that means,
Yeah, he
right?
He
didn't
put
put
a
a
chip in the computer to make it higher performance.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
perfect.
He
Because when
upgraded
you
it.
first said chipped it,
Yeah.
even I thought
That's
you
what I
meant
thought.
he chipped the side
He
of the
put a
paint.
chip.
Oh,
He put a chip in it.
no.
He put a chip in that mofo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he put a
Yeah.
chip in the
He
mofo,
put a
which
Lay's potato chip in the car.
unleashes its power because I think
Yeah.
they'll put limiters on
There's
it.
governors
It's
on it. and
yeah,
stuff,
exactly. So you should be telling the story. You know
okay.
all the details.
I just am thinking of the poor person who's like, why is the paint job have anything to
Yeah,
do with this story?
That's good.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's a little bit of rain. It's just me and my GM, general manager at this point. It's nighttime. It's way past like deal time. And so I'm like, all right, I go get in the car. I'm going to take it around the lot, but I just take it on a little spin. And as I go out, it kind of like that. And I guess I kind of peeled out a little bit. And I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. So we're driving, or I'm driving. I go take a right at the first light. And
you're
now
by yourself.
I'm by myself. Okay. I'm just going to do a little circle.
Yeah.
Because the dealership, it's like Fulton, Arden area.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I get to Fulton and Alta Arden.
Okay.
And I'm at the red light. So I'm going to do right on red. And I'm like, all right, I go. And as I go to turn, the car literally completely comes out like this. So I'm going this way, and I'm like, oh shit. And I don't know if you've ever had, you've been in that situation where your back end's out.
Yeah, kind of tailspin or hydroplane. Or
hydroplane. Like, and it's so dumb, but you kind of do the overreaction and you go this way.
Yeah.
And so then I'm going now, I do that. And at this point, there's an island dividing both ways of traffic. And I'm going against the island, not up it like with my front wheels, but just kind of like
you're going straight out,
almost
sideways.
back wheels / sideways, go boom up it like this. So I go up the island this way, boom like that. And I'm in the middle of the island, like this. And I'm like, oh God. And I go pull off to the side.
Sorry,
I get it to
Mom.
go off, and I'm like that. And I get to the point where I'm driving straight now, like this. The steering wheel sideways, like this, and I'm going straight, and the car's going, and I'm like, oh fuck, oh dude. And I'm literally, there's no cars around me, thank God, but I'm like audibly saying, I'm like, my life's over, like that. And I'm driving.
I wish
straight,
I was there to just see that.
Driving straight like this, and I'm like, and I'm able to kind of turn it and go down the street, and luckily there's no traffic, and I'm not that far from the dealership. Like it's just around the corner, and I pull it back in, and I'm just go.
It's riding a horse at this
point.
Please tell me they're standing in the parking lot watching you pull up.
It's worse. So I pull in.
There's my car, Mom.
But and I guess I should have clarified. I had this car sold, but not that night. This is like a next day deal.
Sure. Guy drops it off at night. Girl's picking it up in the morning.
And so I pull in and I get out and I'm like, there's that party that's like hoping maybe it's not as bad as it looks, No,
like,
it's just a
maybe
flat
it's
tire.
Just a flat tire.
Maybe it's a flat tire. I get out, of course. Yeah, tire's completely flat. Rim is just bent. It's all messed up. You could tell something's wrong with the car. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and at this point, I have to now walk into the dealership, the empty, like, it's like a ghost town dealership.
Dude, you should have gotten out of the car and just Napoleon Dynamite headfirst run out of that place and never come back.
Head down, arms flailing.
Try to grab your employee file on your way out.
Yeah. I mean, hey, no one was downstairs, so I could have just gone through and be like, they never knew I existed.
Cameras are off already.
So I have to then, I have to walk up the stairs because everyone's gone except my GM upstairs. And I walk upstairs and I'm walking down the hallway. And as I'm walking down the hallway, he looks at me and I'm like, and he just goes, what did you do? And I'm like, I fucked up.
But he hadn't seen the car. He could see it on your face.
He's seen it on my face. He goes, man. I knew the second you peeled out that something was wrong. And
you couldn't handle the beast.
Dude. I had at this point, I think I had a Corolla.
Yeah.
I owned a 90.
You'd never touched more than 80 horsepower.
No. I mean, even the Volkswagens we drove, it's not like we got to really go crazy, And if there's going from traction control to no traction control, it's ridiculous
even
how much it does. On a normal car, you have no idea how much it's actually braking from each side, making you just drive like a normal person. And it was actually, the way that got handled was incredible because the GM just I'm sitting across, if you guys are here and he's just typing in his computer because he has to file his report, and it's the last thing you want to do way past close. And so he's just having to sit there, and he just, at one point, he's like, you good? You okay? And I was like, yeah, I didn't get hurt or anything. He's like, no. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like,
he cared about you.
He cared about me. And that was I had a lot of shitty experiences in the car business and a boss that was a total dick. But that right there spoke volumes because it was I just ruined this car. did all this stuff. And even in the moment of him being pissed off, he still was like,
Yeah, talk about grace.
He could tell there wasn't any part of me that was trying to cover up for it. I wasn't trying to divert blame. I was just like, and he could read it. And I'm like, so that guy always I always have good memories of that guy.
Yeah.
The funniest part is that I quit about a week later, I think, or a week and a half later, and moved to a different dealership, a better one. And
you got a promotion.
I basically got a promotion. Cost the dealership like $12,000.
Oh, I would have thought it was more than that.
It would have, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on a brand new BMW. This was like a used, probably 2011. So that's probably like half, if not
sure,
2/3 of the car's value. But I had to then go sit in the office of the actual main boss, and this dude is jacked out of his mind, red in the face, just like shaking, like, here, you're leaving us. And I'm just sitting there as he's just like just talking shit to my face, all this, and my other boss is just like looking at me with disgust, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow.
The GM,
my boss, different boss, like my like a direct manager, and then I guess the other guy was kind of the one that I sat with was like a GM, like an assistant GM. This is like the main GM.
You're like, hey, have you heard the one about the BMW?
Yeah. So sitting there as this guy's just like railing me, but knowing like silence. I'm leaving. This is it. I just have to sit through this. But anyways,
you just took it.
It was wild. I took it. I had many experiences in the car business. You just have to take it. You just sit there and you just get railed and you just have to take it.
Yeah.
That was what I can think of the most pit of my stomach, like dread feeling that I've probably ever had.
Yeah. That's
my question was my follow-up question was going to be, did you stay until that GM stayed? Because I think a lot of people stay in something when there's someone over them that they know values them. So you answered my question.
That GM, if there weren't other people that made the job so crappy, I probably would have stayed, had some loyalty to him for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
Or followed him somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a funny thing about even just people that you work for or people in the job can make you not want to be there.
Yeah.
Like no matter the money, no matter anything going on, it kind of always comes down to the people you're working with, the people above you.
Studies show that most people leave the job that they're in because of their direct supervisor, but that they'll stay in a job they don't really like if they like their direct supervisor.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I'm always exhorting people, if they're a supervisor, like, hey, you are not, you think you might be, you literally are the reason that people are quitting or staying.
Totally.
And we use that at Foursquare, but I think a lot of people think it's the big boss, and no one cares about Bill Gates when they work for Microsoft. They care about Joe Schmo, who's right above them, and who's making their life miserable. So
yeah,
your story is the perfect segue into what we really want to talk about.
Okay.
And
juicy stuff.
That is keeping your eyes in the direction you want to go, and when circumstances aren't all lining up, or it's a little unclear where you're going to end up, you just keep on driving. And I've had multiple accidents drifting, and some of them very not too bad, and some of them really bad. And so through those experiences, I learned that the most important thing you're supposed to do when your car starts to drift is to put your eyes where you want to go, not what you think you're going to hit. And so I remember the first time I accidentally drifted my truck into like a no parking sign in the parking lot of my workplace. I was like, I'm going to hit that pole. I'm going to hit that pole. And then I ran straight into it.
Oh man.
Oh no.
And so through, a lot of video games, I learned how to drift better. Just kidding. But yeah, you
Need for
learn
Speed.
that you got to like look where you want to go. Even if your car is moving this way, you got to look the direction you want to go, because your hands will follow your eyes and turn you in that direction.
Right.
Whoa.
They say that.
Follow your focus.
So as you were talking, it made me think about that, of like when your life is drifting, or when you are lacking direction, or when you have that pit in your stomach of like, man, I screwed up. how do you keep your eyes in the direction that you want to go? And if you guys could just speak to that of like what you're doing and how you're keeping your eyes on something, even though you've spent so much time, not necessarily drifting, but driving, in this area.
Yeah.
And you're saying, hey, my focus is now over here. How do you do that?
God,
Yeah, it's
what
a
question.
Let's say it's a good question. We talk about this stuff a lot, or at least we talk about the things that lead up to maybe the answer or somewhat of an answer. But I think at this point, both of our like life experience has brought us to kind of this crossroad, which even right now is that we're moving. We're moving for the first time ever all the way down to San Diego. Like during a pandemic, we're both leaving the same job that is upwards of 50, 60 an hour. For no reason, we're just like, I mean, not for no reason, but we're leaving that job because I think everything in our life has taught us when there's something that feels right, follow that thing. And if you're able to listen to like your heart and you're confident enough to say, I trust my judgment in this, then kind of take the risk and go after that. Because I'd say it's better to try it and fail than to never listen to that voice or that feeling. Because if you kill that voice, I think that's more dangerous than actually taking the risks.
Definitely.
And so I'd rather take the risk and evaluate it as it's happening, or like make it work even if I fail, than to kill that voice completely and live my life knowing that, I don't know, my stomach is eating itself because I'm living this very passive life of kind of just like taking whatever I'm handed instead of grabbing the thing that I want,
Yeah. I mean, so much of like following my gut, whatever you want to like, taking risks, that I did not have that even up until maybe like, I think about 25. And I remember even like a specific moment driving on my way to work, and I think I was starting to listen to like Jordan Peterson or something.
Yeah.
And just getting in a place of like starting to realize I don't even know how to listen to my own gut, because he made this point that like, if the reason why you can't be someone that lies or dishonest, and I don't feel like I've ever been that kind of person, but the concept is, if you don't even trust, if like you start to almost teach yourself that you can't even trust your own self because you don't have this like moral inner compass that's something to rely on. So what I took from it was, I can't even, I don't know how to, like, I never felt like I really knew what I wanted or what I liked. Whereas he's the opposite. He's so much knows what he wants and knows what he likes. And it's very like pinpointed to
most of the time.
But most of the time I
except where he wants to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But
I have to learn through experience.
There you go.
Like hands-on experience.
Even in that following that thread, he knows what he wants enough to go, I know I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even like the lighting of a place can throw me off, or like the way the pictures look on the wall. I can tell like that, even like how a place looks speaks volumes about the business, or who runs the business, or how their mind works, or how they are with people. Because I can see by a room and how it feels, this person understands what makes humans feel comfortable, feel good.
Wow.
And they have good tastes. Like higher quality in things means they have I don't know, more value in like setting up a space that people are going to come to.
And when you say higher quality and value, you don't just mean monetary.
Yeah, not just monetary. I think all that runs deeper anyway.
Yeah.
It's like someone who doesn't understand social cues, right? They could just be, I don't know, talking your ear off forever, pretty much like I'm doing right now, and not understand that it's a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
And like, you'd never want to put that person as a supervisor in charge of, I don't know, people that have to have a back and forth. Or, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of everything, because I want things a certain way. I know that if I find that in a business, that at least shows me, it pinpoints I want to be here, at least because of this. And if it doesn't have it at all, like fluorescent lighting, stuff like that, I don't want to be there.
Yeah. Isn't that
all.
weird, how it affects us psychologically?
Yeah.
But most people don't realize it. They're just like, I need a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember working and I opened and I'm like, it was one of those days that was super busy in the beginning. And I think it was me and one other person opening. It was Chris.
Nice.
And we're rocking it, going crazy, going busy. And I just felt like off, like both of it, like even hit, like you could just feel it. Like there's a weird energy feeling off. And then all of a sudden it hit me like an hour into this, it's the brewers will have their music going like before anyone gets there because they get there super early, and it's this band. I mean, I'm not talking shit about the band, but they're called like the Witches or something, and it's just this like sludge metal band, and it's like blasting, it's blasting in the brewery. But I'm just because it got busy so early, we didn't get a chance to like kind of get adjusted.
All your stuff set up.
Yeah. So and then it hits me. I'm like, what are we listening to right now? And then went and changed it, and immediately like everything was like it was just a more calming, like inviting vibe, and there was less tension.
Yeah, like
I think that's what he's kind of getting at too. Is
the energy in the room. Like that's the first thing I pick up on.
Yeah.
And as a kid, it used to be this thing that would make me insecure because I could pick up on like everyone's energy. I was highly aware of my own. Like that person in the room, this person, if it was a group of people, and I always try to facilitate to the person who had the weird energy, so I could make it feel good.
Yeah,
because I felt like if
you're balancing it out
exactly, and if the energy feels good, now we can finally move forward with how this scenario is supposed to develop. So if I feel bad energy coming from someone in charge of me somewhere, and I know there's no ability for me to fix that, then usually that's a good sign that maybe I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Or I've tried to fix that in the past and also realized I can't fix that. It's not my place. So I need to move to the place where that's already the environment.
Or go create that environment.
Exactly. Which has been my
what you did, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of it.
Yeah, you've done that. You've done that here completely.
Yeah.
Which is why we're here every day.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
So what kind of environment are you looking for in San Diego?
Ooh. I don't know if I could say like I know the specific environment, but because I've practiced this, like as cheesy as it sounds, just like a muscle of working on this, taking risks, following your gut, I'll know what it isn't for sure. And then the other thing that him and I talk about here most of the time, or this is like the cultivating creativity.
When we get our coffee energy flowing.
Mm-hmm. That's one of our goals, is
caffeine
to be
energy.
The catalyst. So the fact that you guys say that is an honor.
Yeah. Dude, it is an honor. I mean, literally, I'm also kind of a dummy, but I forget you guys are closed on Sundays every Sunday.
Every Sunday?
He is the most space cadet there ever could be, which is great because we talk about this too. If you're writing, we've talked about this here too. If you're writing a character for a show, you're going to heighten everything about that character.
Sure.
To make us that is the character. That is Dwight Schrute, right? He's always going to be on time.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Exactly. You just emphasize whatever it is about that person.
Exaggerate it.
His is
idiosyncrasies.
His is the space cadet. Like, and I was making this joke the other day. Like, if he was an astronaut, he'd be up in he'd be up in space, and I'd be like, "Bro, did you bring the manual?" And he'd be like, "What? I was supposed to bring that manual?" Like, well, yeah, you're the astronaut. You're the head engineer of the lunar module or whatever. He'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know I needed the manual for that." You know what I mean? He would just be that guy that like he forgets you.
He's in space. Yeah.
Which is fun. And then I've had to learn with my sometimes passivity. I've had to learn just to tell him directly, like, "Hey, you left the light on," or whatever, because I know, like, it's not personal. It's just his thing.
Yeah.
That's my brain. You asked a question though. I'm making it. So I guess to my point, practicing that muscle of of taking risk. And
Yeah.
I've done a lot. Like I've definitely, once I realized it was a problem, and I've actually done like professional life coaching. Like I've been a recipient of the life coaching.
Yeah.
That changed my life. So if you're just kind of aimlessly like, I don't know what to do, and you just either feel like cloud, like I've been there for sure.
Do not drift.
Ask.
You don't have to.
You don't have to drift. And
Yeah.
there's all like the 80-20 principle is always one of my favorite like concepts to think about. It's like, even when I was in my most lost and working a job where I was making good money, but I was just like completely clouded. I'd literally walk into work with a podcast in my ear, and people would all like, it just became known like I was the guy that would always have, something like I was trying to drown myself out, and I was distracted, and just I didn't want to be there. So I had to like create this space in my head where I was so detached. And I remember within 20 minutes of doing life coaching, the guy was like, you are this, this, and this. And it was like, he solved me in 20 minutes, and not only solved me, but gave me, here's how you can fix that. So, with that said, like, I've taken the risks of leaving a well-paying job. I've taken the risk of like saying no to something, because my gut was saying like something else is going to present itself. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're almost like, I don't know, is it masochist or sadomasochist or something with it? Like there's this level of it now where I've seen so much benefit in my life, and maybe in some way, like my life doesn't look like, it's not like I'm driving a Tesla and live in this, Granite Bay home. So I don't have in this particular way, this on the surface version of how it's all happened. Like I've received all the benefits now of this lifestyle, but compared to where I was emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like physically, like it's all changed.
Oh yeah, you'd be super surprised to see how far like this guy's come.
Yeah.
From for even where you were like, I don't know, 4 years ago.
I literally this morning, just in case this conversation went here, I did create a picture album of my fat photos.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, even just that too. Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is if you want to see it. So this is my old license when I was a kid. So I was like 15 and a half.
Dude, you look like you're straight out of Superbad.
Right. Straight out of Superbad. People would call me Hurley from Lost.
I was going to say Hurley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my hair.
Well, show him. Do you have another one of you older?
Too? Yeah. I mean, that's just like just a whatever photo.
Gorgeous.
But then this is bad, dude. This is like a few summers ago.
DB.
I used to be 245 pounds. That was my most I ever weighed.
Yeah.
And not like strong, like, football play. Like we're talking skinny fat, but extreme skinny fat. I got so sidetracked, but
well, it's a part of it. It's
so at this point, it's leaving the best paying job, not just the best paying job, but also the most freedom. Like the job, it's the easiest, simplest job as long as you do it, as long as you know how to do it. We're leaving that not because we have problems, but because the books, the chapters being like written, it's closed, man.
Yeah.
So
that was a great chapter.
That. Yeah.
Awesome chapter.
Right.
Totally.
Next chapter.
And I already know the feeling. Like once I get the whiff, and he knows this too, the whiff of like, I think maybe the chapter's closing. Like we have so much practice in it now.
Yeah. Because
stay is going to be, it's going to just feel.
Yeah. Because leading up to this, like even a few years ago, me leaving a job like this is paying me this well would have been like terrifying, felt crazy, felt literally insane because I've never made this kind of money in my life. But I've always grown up with a deficit of money in my family. Just my whole life, there was always a deficit of money, financial whatever. Moved a lot, had to live in like government housing, all those kinds of things. So to be here and know I'm leaving this job just to go, it's the craziest thing to me.
Yeah.
But it was in those times when I wasn't making a lot or whatever you want to call it, that even like, and this is where my faith kicks in. God would tell me, give. He's like, you're too scared to do what's in your heart, which is like give. You want to bless people. So if you're not doing that now, why would you do that if you had a bunch of money?
Right.
He's like, so basically the lesson is practice those things now. It's like create the values first, and then all the things that are supposed to feel fill those voids you have will show up if you practice your values now.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first thing, is create your values, your list of values, which is taking care of people, treating people well, loving people, all those things. And then it's like, once you learn that lesson, everything will follow. So it was like in the practice of God telling me, give. And then the money started showing up, but not until after I first practiced the part that was difficult, which is why now it's easy to leave this job. It's like, it's almost too easy, because I know, like,
emotionally.
I know it's never about the job. It's about that purpose in life, or my faith, or whatever you want to call it. My desires to do what I really want to do. It's in my heart. And I trust that everything will follow that pursuit because of, I think, the value system.
Yeah.
Which is
do you think
always
that
growing.
There's a part of us, because some of the experiences you just touched on, I've had some of those, and I think that I often find myself wanting to return back to the pain. Like, oh, maybe I need to move. Maybe I shouldn't make so much money, and like returning back to the sins of the father sort of a concept.
Okay.
Or you talked about being a masochist, like, like, do you think that there's always a struggle that we have where we want to go back to the place where we were hurt?
I can think maybe it's almost like that place in life can cause somewhat of more inspiration, because it's like deep, because it's deeper feelings, even if it's pain. So maybe the equivalent of that is doing something in life that makes you feel those deep feelings, but it doesn't have to be a painful thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the first shot that I had in my brain. It's like, that's where you felt the most in that season.
Yeah, I guess my first thought is, like, hitting on that is, I don't necessarily feel like I've been connected to my emotions, like, hence I did life coaching, right? So and that was like one of the main things. I was just so disconnected. So it's still like what I'm still in the beginnings of learning that, but like you said, connecting, like, if something makes you feel that intensely, if you can find like the value in that, and like, be vulnerable, share it, talk to people about it. Like, if just discussing that particular thing, if you have someone in your life that you can talk about that with, and then if you can use it creatively in some sense, like whether it's like art or any version of art, music, or
you guys are both musicians, right?
We're both musicians.
Yeah.
How do you tap into that in your music?
Jeez, he's the guy that, if you want to ask that, I don't really know. I just kind of like, what do you play? Oh, I'll just play drums. I'll just sit down and play drums.
For you, it's more of a recreational outlet.
It's more of a
because he's definitely
maybe instinctual.
I know there's more there from a songwriter's perspective, just because I've been writing songs since I was a kid. He's written a few in those moments of like just looping something, and I can see like the emotions coming out of him, and he's been able to, with that, write like one or even two of the songs that I was able to fully kind of flesh out. But he started that process, so it's definitely in him. But I'd say it's a little more developed in me, just because I've been doing it longer. But it's pinpointing what inspires you.
Yeah.
And like, just always remembering that if you have to write it down, what inspires you? If it's the ocean, go to the ocean. If it's a good meal, cook a good meal. If it's like I said, the lighting in the room, change the lighting in the room.
Yeah, that's like, good. Yeah.
You have to be aware, really. And like you said, those painful seasons in life, they can be like, funny enough, good for songwriting.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, how do I return to like pain? But in reality, it's just because you haven't figured out how to synthesize like joy or something else, which I'd say start there.
Yeah.
Because joy is a way better catalyst for creativity than pain ever will be, I think. Or pain's going to inspire a lot of things, but if the end point isn't bringing someone joy or healing, then I don't want to cause someone else pain.
There's a lot of great songs about pain. But
Totally.
There's a lot of great songs about musicians' kids.
Yeah.
And their lovers and their triumphs.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess at least in my mission in life is to bring people joy or healing through my creative art, music, whatever that is. And if it brings out pain, good. Then I guess they needed that.
Yeah.
I've definitely had those movies or songs in my life, but that's my main focus now is how do I bring people like some sense of happiness or joy through my music.
Yeah. So people are listening right now. They're probably in a state of up and down as far as joy, like most of us.
Yeah.
COVID's rampant and or the effects of their response to COVID, depending on where you're at. And I think
I like that.
So yeah, I mean, obviously it's real and people are sick and dying. But I would say the majority of us are dealing with the effects of that and the response to that. Do we need to take a break? Okay. So in the midst of that, how do you guys practically see yourselves bringing joy? You're going out in this new place, you're taking this leap, you're leaving something really steady and predictable. I mean, are you looking to receive more joy, to give more joy, a combination of both?
Dude, I love that.
I mean, geographically, obviously San Diego is going to be great.
Yeah.
But I know from talking to you guys, there's more than the geography of it.
I'm glad you brought that back up because one of the things I wanted to say before we close the topic of giving and all that and taking risks is like this guy models like giving very well, especially financially. Like he said, he didn't come from, money and I mean, most of us haven't for sure. I didn't either.
Totally.
But kind of consistently like didn't have the monetary available options. But the best thing he's doing is consistently giving, whether that's tithing or you giving to whatever that feels like. It's tipping, maybe a little extra that feels like, oh God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
It should feel uncomfortable.
It should feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
One
of my goals for 2020 is to give the 2020 tip.
Oh,
so
nice.
We'll see if that happens.
The 2020 tip.
That was a thing especially early in 2020. Or maybe right when COVID started, some famous people started tipping $2,020.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It's not $20.20. But I think it would be pretty cool to bless somebody with that.
That's dope.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep. The best one of the most memorable things I did is giving. When I was unemployed, there was a particular period I was unemployed over 3 years ago, and I like literally went through all my savings pretty much, and I had already done that before, so it sucked. I built a savings, lost it all.
Yeah.
Built a savings again, and then unemployed, but I'm not like an unemployable person with no skills and socially awkward, don't know how to interview.
In a valley.
Literally just closed door after closed door after closed door. And I got to this place where I had like not much money left at all. And I just felt this like thing I needed to just give. And I ended up giving about 3/4 of my money away. Like I gave it to this
when you were still unemployed.
Unemployed. I didn't have a job lined up. But I figured in my like little faith journey, which is its own thing, I'm like, all right, well, at this point now, like if I fail and I end up homeless, like it's your fault. Like that's kind of how I felt, I'm like, because I did the best that I could do.
Double finger,
yeah.
Fingers,
yeah. So
your fault.
And it's not like the next day the job happened and it was like the perfect story of that, but
the clouds didn't part.
They didn't part, unfortunately.
Came down on a dove.
Yeah, just a couple of stacks of hundreds just on a dove. I'm like, that dove. No, that's his life. That's what happens to him.
Yeah.
Radical stuff like that. But being around that all the time got me in this mindset. He has insane stories consistently. Stupid, annoying person just goes, here's $100 just because I like your eyes. And then
I've got a few.
They are beautiful.
But if you ever want to if you want to jumpstart the your life is sucky and you feel miserable and everything's gray and whatever, and you want to learn how to take risks, just give away money. Like, it's scary, but like, give away.
It's an action step.
An action step.
Yeah.
Whether it's faith or you call it something else, it always starts with an action step, and that's the important part, because you can tell yourself or think to yourself as long as you want about what you want to do, but if you never do it, then you're never practicing the risky part.
Yeah, that's the risky part for sure.
Which is, it's kind of like letting go of control or the power. It's putting it in the universe or God or whatever you want to call it. It's giving it to someone else and saying like, I guess I'm not in control. I have to kind of forfeit this control. Like a farmer pretty much gives that control over to the earth when they plant a seed. Like the soil could be good, it could be bad, but they have to plant the seed before they're ever going to get something in return.
Yeah.
They can't just say, all right, so I'm ready for the strawberries or the corn. It's like, well, yeah, you haven't planted anything yet. You haven't tilled the earth or whatever farmers do. There's always an action step. Yeah. The first iMac computer didn't just appear. Like Steve Jobs had to work on that.
And I think we wanted to, before we left here, we wanted to do as much of that, like planting seeds or whatever before, not like leave here going like, let's get the fuck out. Like this, but
you've been reaping.
Yeah.
It's
I'd
time
say
to go
so.
plant somewhere else.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it. Like that's kind of what it feels like, is I think we've learned some really valuable like planting skills. And it feels like, for whatever reason, we're being like kind of led to go out here.
Yeah. Even for more so for our own growth too. I think we're going to grow a lot out of this experience, and it's also going to be a time of like focus and certain things that I know I personally really need too. So, yeah.
To the next chapter. Well, thank you guys for coming on. Yeah, keep your eyes where you want to go. Thank you guys for watching the Foursquare Sessions podcast. This has been Jordan and Spencer. We hope that our conversation was valuable and inspirational to you guys. Thank you guys for coming on, and cheers to the next step.
Thanks, Luke.
Cheers to the next step. Thanks, dude. This was awesome.